Hello, I'm Dennis Ward, host of Louisiana Heart Beats. And today we welcome producer, co-director, and playwright Laila Wyatt, whose first stage play, Tales from the Tower, is making its premiere at the Opelousas Little Theatre, running 3 weeks, July 12th through the 29th. That's 3 weeks of production. That's great.
12 shows.
Congratulations.
Thank
Welcome to Louisiana Heart Beats. I'm amazed at your biography and history, Laila. You've been a busy, busy person the last few years. And being an Acadiana playwright myself, I'm very excited for you because I know that first production is really exciting. You're doing a children's drama?
Yes.
A little / comedy in there.
Yes, definitely comedy.
And how did this all come about? I mean, what has taken you to this point in your life, your young life, to be a playwright, a former actress, now co-directing this and producing this?
Well, so there's been a lot of changes at the theater. In the best sense, we've been trying to cut back a lot. And so essentially what it boiled down to was we were looking for a royalty-free show to do. And my sister was like, hey, Laila can write somewhat. So let's ask her if she can come up with something. And I was like, yeah, sure, just give me an outline and I'll make it happen. And so made it happen, and it turned into, it's more than I've ever written. I was a creative writing major at first at UL, and then I switched over to literature because I realized I like to read more than I like to write. But this was actually really fun. It was a totally different take rather than doing assignments or short skits and stuff for classes. It was much more fun to be able to develop characters and add personality and all that stuff into it.
Well, you've taken some classics like Rapunzel and different classic fairy tales. And without giving out the whole play to the Acadiana viewers, just give us a hint of what this show is about.
So Rapunzel is locked in her tower, as Rapunzel tends to be, and she passes the time by telling stories. So we see Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Hansel and Gretel, 3 Billy Goats, Little Red Riding Hood, and 3 Little Pigs. There's a lot of stories in there. And so it's just interesting to see how she incorporates it. She essentially just uses what she has in her room to make these stories come to life. So, yeah, and I don't want to give too much away. But
So
yeah.
does she let down her long hair, her golden locks?
We actually threw in a twist.
Okay.
So we wouldn't have to deal with a huge wig that would look bad.
Right.
But there is a twist and there's an explanation in there of why her hair isn't the main method to go up and down.
Okay. Well, that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, your play is being co-directed by your sister, Kendi Wyatt. And you told me earlier that she has a job that is special, working with young children. She's a teacher. And how did that help in the production and direction?
Yeah, well, we both babysat since we were old enough to take care of ourselves. And but she, bless her heart, she is a teacher of young kids. She taught kindergarten all last year, and she's about to start teaching pre-K. So that's been a great help of someone who's used to handling young kids and being able to give direction to young kids and present things in a way that they can understand. So it was really helpful. And we have great kids anyway, so they don't need that much fussing.
Well, I was reading this story about casting the play. And when I saw the number 28 came up, fell out of my chair. You cast a play with 28 kids. I mean, and for the first play, that is really biting off a lot.
Yeah, definitely. So how that worked out, how that number came out, for summer shows, we liked it to be a kids show because that's when they're most available, and because they have school all the rest of the times. So we don't like to turn them away. We try to find something for them, whether it's lights, whether it's backstage, ensemble, anything. So we were in the middle of fleshing out the storyline and all that stuff, and then we were at auditions, so I would be able to see who I'm working with, and so we ended up having like 28, 29 kids, and one's doing lights and sound. But yeah, it was fun, but it was good to be able to do that because everyone lets their personality come through. Like some of the characters were written for specific actors or actresses, and so it was really great to be able to personalize it that way.
Oh, that's great. I bet these kids are so excited.
Oh, yeah.
Some of them the first time they've been on stage. And as young as 4?
As young as 4 and as old as 14. So
Wow.
It's not that big of a range. I mean, it's kind of big, but
How do
Yeah,
the
it's
kids get along with each other? They helping with their lines?
oh,
each
it's so
other?
cute because you'll have like a 5-year-old holding the 4-year-old by the hand, like, no, say it this way. And so it's kind of precious because you'll teach one and then they'll teach one like a year younger than them. They'll try and teach them and like be the mom or something. And so it's really precious in that way. But we do, for these past 4 weeks, we've separated it where we only worked on one story all week. So only those people had to come. And the ensemble roles would have to come like 2 days a week because their stuff is pretty repetitive anyway. So we've been taking smaller doses. Next week is when we'll have everyone there and try and keep them all backstage and quiet backstage because there's a huge window in the set of where people go in and out. And so there's going to be no blocking like the sound from backstage, and we're going to have a whole bunch of toddlers back there.
Oh,
so
wow.
we have to practice being quiet.
Yeah. Well, did everybody pitch in and make their costume? Was there a costume leader or designer?
Well, we've done a lot of thrift shopping because the goal is, I mean, as with community theater normally, we're just trying not to spend any or very little money. And we have a lot of parents who have stepped up and like, hey, I can sew, or hey, I can't sew that much, but I can do something. And so we have a lot of help from the parents. They keep pitching ideas, and it's wonderful. They are all so eager to help. And we have, like I said, we have a lot of seamstresses and people who can make elaborate stuff and people who can make simple things. And it's really a joint effort. And so I had some ideas of how I wanted some of the costumes to look in a general like theme of like the time period and stuff. And then Miss Angie McBride, she's another director on the board of directors, and she's like, okay, and she runs with it, and she'll go to Goodwill or any thrift store, and she's like, this is what I found, is this what you're looking for? I'm like, yeah. And then a whole bunch of parents will send me pictures. They're like, hey, I saw this, can we use that? And I'm like, sure, go ahead. Run with it.
Well, tell the viewers that may not know about the Acadiana Little Theatre. It's head by Dana Reed.
No, Duncan McBride is the president.
Oh, he's the president
Yes.
now. Dana was.
Yes, at one point, yeah.
At one point. Well, tell it where that theater is at and how you are holding it together and where it's at. And
Yeah. Well, you say holding it together, but by tiny threads at this point. No, it's actually doing really well. So there was a period where a lot of the theater itself was like crumbling apart. We had the front needed to be leveled. The air conditioner went out in the middle of the summer. We didn't have a heater in the winter. There are holes in the walls and all that stuff. And so we started a fundraising initiative, Preserve On Stage Opelousas, or POO for short. And that was all Duncan's idea. And we had a lot of changes going on with the board of directors of just initiating new fundraising things and prioritizing things, and it's been great so far. We've had great success. We got the front porch leveled. We have insulation everywhere. We have real walls now. You can't like see outside through the walls. We have insulation in the ceiling. The air conditioner's fixed, which is really great in these summer months.
Just to tell viewers, to let them know, this theater was a former church, and it's in South Park, Opelousas, and it's small. It's a small building, but very much in need of TLC.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And how you've kept everything together is amazing. And I'm a neighbor of the theater, so I attend productions there often. And I've frozen in the winter and
Yes.
melted.
Sweat, yep.
So I'm glad to hear that it's getting some attention.
It definitely is, and we're trying to preserve the historic part of it as much as possible. So even whenever we're thinking of rewalling the audience part, we're going to try and reuse as much wood as possible and like just keep as much of it that's there as it is, as much as possible, without jeopardizing like the integrity of the building and stuff like that.
That's great. Well, there's some very talented people, carpenters and such, and I know they have done some incredible sets. One comes to mind, Augusta Osage County was just, I was blown away.
Yeah. I was the
by
stage
that.
manager for that.
That was really a great production.
Yeah, we do
That
have good stuff.
A complex play.
Oh yeah.
And I saw it at LSU, and it really wasn't done any better at LSU than it was Opelousas. So I was really blown away. Well, without giving, back to your play, Tales of the Tower, and this is your first play, and what are you trying to say subliminally, or the messages that you're trying to convey with this play?
Well, so I've always really liked fairy tales, and I don't know why I keep getting drawn back to them. Anytime I had a chance in college to do a project regarding them in some fashion, I would always do that. So I'm not sure why I like them that much. I think maybe because there's a flow to them, and although you can tell the same story over and over, it's easy to personalize and change bit by bit. And so that's interesting, but overall, it's basically just paying tribute to all the fairy tales and also just instilling a love of reading, because I'm a huge book nerd. So in the beginning, the main struggle that Rapunzel's going with is her mother doesn't want her to read, and so she finds a way around that. So basically, just like don't stop reading is what it is. Like don't let
that's a
anything.
great
And if you
message.
can't read, if you don't have access to the books, then make up your own stories and go with it, and use what you know and what you have. You don't need elaborate resources. You can just use what's in your house.
So with today's iPhones and iPads and video games that kind of suck our imagination, Rapunzel has to build on her imagination. That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I was going to ask, 28 kids.
Yes.
How did you manage that? Did you get some parental help? And
Oh yeah. So we have 20. Like I said, we have 28. We've been sectioning them off. So we had just one group each week. So we'd have about 10-ish total. And then each week, and their parents. So a lot of the siblings are cast in the same story. So that way, it's easier for them all to come to practice at the same time. And the goal is to have one parent per so many kids, depending on how many parents will be able to be backstage at every show. They'll probably each have like 4 or 5 kids. And we'll probably have like 2 moms in charge of all the dwarves to make sure that they're on cue and things like that. So it's basically like breaking it down into palatable portions and delegating a lot of
Well, that's
responsibility.
amazing. You're getting so much community support.
There's a lot.
That's
There's a lot of
great.
people who we've never seen before, and they showed up, and we're like, awesome, glad to have you. So, yeah.
Well, you can carry that forward, hopefully into new productions. And I'm sure you had to use the resources of stagecraft from the carpenters and support people, technical people.
Yeah, so we have work parties at the theater. We call them work parties, but we basically just work all day and just call it a party. But it's super fun. There's just a huge, just the community there is great. But we do a lot of construction and a lot of set design and costume design on those days. Whenever we break, we're normally just talking about something else that we don't need our hands for at the moment. We're just, okay, let's take a break and talk about the set of placement and things like that. So yeah, we have a lot of people who are able to build things. People can paint. They can construct small pieces.
Well, I was
the
curious
costumes,
by one of the pictures had a tropical sea and palm trees.
Oh, that was from the last. So a lot of the pictures that you'll see on that I sent you and that are in here are.
Oh, from the last collection.
We're in the process of building the set as we go. So each weekend we do a bit. Like we just got to where we've painted it all the back a flat color, so we can build off of that. But yeah, that was from Gilligan's Island. We had just done that.
Okay.
So a lot of the things on the stage right now are not for our particular play.
Okay.
Yeah.
That clears that up.
Yeah. No, it's all gonna look like a medieval castle inside.
Well, from a fairly young age, you've been working with the Opelousas Little Theatre. And do you want to tell the viewers about your association and the path it's taken you?
Sure. So, as most people, I started out as an audience member, which those are very integral to any production. You can't have a show without an audience. But so I started. The first thing I ever saw was Romeo and Juliet, which they performed at the Delta Grand, but it was a OLT production. I saw that, and then I saw Showcase in 2012. Showcase is a show that we do every year around January just to showcase a whole bunch of talent. So I saw that in 2012, and I was like, wow, I want to do that. That looks fun. And so in 2013, I did Showcase, and then I haven't stopped since. I just got onto the board of directors. This is my first term.
What particular talent did you perform in the showcase?
In showcases, I would always do skits and stuff.
Okay.
I love to act. So, yeah, I acted during skits. I've done ensemble roles for bigger productions. I was Igramul in The Neverending Story, this giant spider with spider babies. It was very interesting. But yeah, that one was fun. Yeah.
So now you find yourself as a board member.
Mm-hmm.
How is that changing things to get the big picture of the theater and its finances and problems to face?
Yeah, it definitely gives you a whole new appreciation for it, of how much work goes into it. I was the assistant director of Showcase 2018, this past one. So I kind of helped with the skits there. And I had some tasks, like I had to do all the press releases and just a bunch of director-ish tasks. So that was interesting, but then moving on to being on the board and attending all the meetings and being a co-director, you realize how much actually goes into putting on a show, because you have all the everything. Like you have all the media and all the budgeting and design and everything that goes into it.
You wear a lot of hats.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And there's a lot of times during practice. So for the first few practices, Kendi, she's director and I'm co-director. So she was blocking the first few scenes, and then I'm running around with Miss Angie, who's been like a godsend to us, helping us. Like she's one of the more experienced directors, and she's like held us by our hands, like, hey, maybe you should do this here and things like that, but also giving us our freedom to learn. And So I would be walking around with her, like planning different pieces of the set and all this stuff. And then Kenny would run to me. She's like, "Hey, how did you write this? Like, what did you mean when you wrote it this way? Where's the stress going here? And oh, what did you have ideas?" So it's very fun and very interesting to be doing so many things at once.
Well, yeah, usually the dramaturge is done before production, so it sounds like you did it all during production.
Yeah, we do a lot of it on the fly. So the play, as it's written, it's very adaptable and flexible. We've changed little things here and there, like instead of using one prop, we switch it to another, and things like that. So, and being that it's written, that I wrote it, we have full range of independence to be able to change it however we want. We don't have to go by certain royalties, standards, and things like that. So if we decide that something isn't working for one character, we can just change it to adapt them better. Or it's not working for the set how I imagined it versus what we were working with. Okay, we can just change this real quick. So it's been fun and exciting and a little bit stressful, but mostly fun.
Well, let me just catch our viewers up to date. Today in the studio we have Laila Wyatt, and she is with the Opelousas Little Theatre, and she is going to debut Tales of the Tower, her newest work, her first work, premiering at the Opelousas Little Theatre July 12th, and it runs to the 29th. So you'll be having performances
Thursday,
Friday, Saturday
at
7, and then Sunday matinee at
2.
At 2,
Yes.
great. So there's 3 weeks of that. And where can people go and find tickets?
So you can get them online at our Square store. It's squareup.com/store/Opelousas Little Theatre. Or you can get them at Sebastian Dupre Fine Jewelry in Opelousas. Or you can show up the day of and get them at the door.
Is there a link on the Opelousas Little Theatre
On the website? There should be, yes.
Okay. So those 4 places, Square Up, Sebastian Dupuis Jewelry Store, the Opelousas Little Theatre, and then just as a walk-in.
Yes.
Well, great. And, well, I wanted to ask you this question, and we're running out of time, but what would you tell a young person just beginning who has aspirations of becoming an actor or actress or even a playwright?
If you think it's weird, do it. If you think it's weird, it's probably great. So, yeah, somebody's gonna like it somewhere. And what I've tried to do is, I am my best audience. So I think I'm funny, even when no one else does. So at least I know one person likes it. So, so anything I do, like, just do it with confidence. And even though, like, don't do it to please anyone else, just do it for yourself. And especially if it's weird, go for it.
Yeah. So will you be having a dress rehearsal?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Do you invite folks from the community, or?
Normally we don't, but if you're interested, you could run it by us. You can ask us if you could come up. But yeah.
Most definitely, I'd love to.
Oh yeah. Normally it's not like super open, but definitely if people want to come check it out, they can just message us on Facebook and ask us like what time and which days, because some days we normally have a normal dress rehearsal schedule, but sometimes we have to deviate for different reasons. So, yeah.
So that will be about the 10th or 11th?
Yes.
Okay.
It would be the week before the show.
Yeah. And, well, this play, I think, has potential. I mean, I think it's very exciting. Do you ever foresee it being a musical or taking it beyond the borders of Opelousas or Acadiana?
I honestly never thought about it, but I wouldn't be opposed to it. And like I said, it's very flexible, so it's very adjustable. We've already changed a bunch of things, so it's able to be performed in other places. So I'm not opposed to it. That's just, it wasn't my intention originally writing it. I was just like, okay, I'll just write a play. And so, yeah.
I think there, are a lot of resources out there for young playwrights, women playwrights. I'll bring you a book, and maybe you can find a theater festival. Or,
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for being a guest on Louisiana Heart Beats. Again, we've had Laila Wyatt, and thank you for coming on the show and telling us about Tales of the Tower. Good luck on the
Thank you.
production.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it was a pleasure. I think we're about done there.